This is Webcats. My name's Peter Beaumont, and in this episode we're going to be introducing you to the section of the Learning Technology Development team who work with the Faculty of Education at Edgehill University. So let's go meet them. And here they are. This is Paul Duval and Megan Juss.
Hello.
And as I said, they work with the Faculty of Education at Edgehill. Now, if you were sitting in front of the staff, the academic staff from the Faculty of Education, and you wanted to present yourself for the first time and say what you do, what the Learning Technology Development team does for them, how you can serve them, what would you say? How would you like to present yourself to them if you were doing that, say, for the first time?
No, I think as in a previous episode, alluded to by Mark, our manager, I think we are generally seen throughout the university as a WebCT team.
Yeah, that's what we call it. Some people just call
it. Some people call us WebCT or WebCat team.
Hence the name of the
podcast. Hence the name. But we like to see ourselves as more than just WebCT. WebCT is something that we use in order to deploy uses of learning technology throughout the institution. For us too, it's education within it, the Faculty of Ed.
Yeah.
But the other stuff that goes on that we house in WebCT is much more than just WebCT.
Okay.
So we can cover things like multimedia, audio software, video software. We can cover things like deployments of quizzes and assessment tools. That's within WebCT, but a lot of people don't use them properly.
So these are all different tools that could be used online by academic staff in their programme development.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would come to us for support and advice in order for them to use the technology.
When do you think they should come to you? Would you like them to come, say, right at the start of the programme development and say, I'm thinking of including some online stuff. What do you think would help me do this, meet these learning objectives? Would that be the
That
best?
would definitely be best to include it in their strategy for the programme.
Yeah.
To start from the very beginning, thinking about including technology rather than an add-on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in my experience, when a course starts up, WebCT is often seen, or the use of any learning technology is seen as a bit of an add-on at times. And if it's not planned properly and the whole thing thought out about how it's going to be implemented, is it going to be part of an assessment? How's it going to be used for communication? What are the files needed to be created online? Who's going to do that? Who's going to update things? What happens when the course finishes? Everything needs to be considered at the start of it, and then it works properly. Because if students have a course that involves learning technology, and from an early stage it doesn't work properly, then they lose all faith in it and they just think, what's the point? And it's really hard to get that back.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say if they don't think about it and implement like a sort of a project plan from the start, then often you can come into, and we've experienced problems with courses like that.
Yeah, academics need to be aware of how much time is involved in doing something and doing it well, and how much motivation they have to bring to using technology. They have to really, to be successful, throw themselves into it fully, and not expect that it will be an easy option.
Yeah.
It will be a good option, and if it's done well, it will be brilliant, and it will really help them, help their students to learn more effectively, so long as they are fully committed and have been given enough time to be committed.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd certainly say that using online technologies to their full potential involves a lot more than just putting PowerPoints online. That's a very basic thing, but like you're saying, it needs to be integrated from the start and be more than just putting documents online. Yeah.
A lot of courses that use it within education use our virtual learning environments, WebCT, or any learning technology. It's not been something that they've written into their programme. It's not been something that has been revalidated to include it. So that's why I'm saying it's an add-on. It's often just something seen as, well, let's just do it so we can say that we've got online learning in, and we sort of tick that box.
Yeah.
We can just say, all right, that's done, but it doesn't mean it's done properly.
Okay.
So the only example I've got of a course that's been revalidated to include it is the foundation degree in teaching and learning support.
Yeah.
After a few years of it being here, it was revalidated to include a flexible version of the course, which from, in the actual course documentation, it was said it had clearly outlined what would be done with WebCT, how the learning technologist would be involved, and I was involved in the revalidation from the start.
So that's kind of an ideal way of going about it.
That's an ideal way of doing it. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Moving on a little bit, are there any technologies or any projects you've been working on recently that might be interesting for staff in the Faculty of Education to be aware of, that they might want to include in courses that they're developing?
A new one that's being looked at the moment is a research blog for a research group. It's in very early stages, and Linda has been taking charge of that.
Okay.
It's got a small group that are working together on a research project.
Yeah, so you might need to explain what a blog is to people who've not heard of that. So how does that work?
People don't do that to me.
Well, blog stands for weblog, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, not in technical detail.
And it's a online resource where people can. It's often done in a diary form, isn't it? Where people post original messages and then people can read that. It's often on the open internet, where anyone could read it. Can people always add comments, or is that something that's...
You can allow people to comment on your posts.
You can allow that, so you can build it up as you go on.
Yeah, so for this research project it's been set up so that other members of the group can comment. So Linda leads the discussion. It's basically been used to replace WebCT.
Okay.
So it's just simply the blog that's being used, and it's a form of communication between the group so that they can keep in touch with what everyone else is working on. And because they've got a sort of central focus, Linda can lead the discussion and prompt others in the group to think of certain things or generate some form of discussion between them, and they can share resources that they might have found and ideas
through adding comments to Linda's blog.
But it's also been set up so that several others can be authors as well. But we're still in very early stages, and I think a lot more training needs to be thought about in order for it to be successful.
Okay, so that's a new technology that's being developed and might be interesting to other members of staff at some point in the future. Well, that's great. Thanks for coming along and talking to us. We'll leave that for now. So, goodbye from Webcats. We'll be back again with more information about learning technology, and we'll be interviewing people from who work with the other faculties at Edgell. So, thanks for watching.